Her latest effort is a highly acclaimed, big-selling album, this one here, called What's New?
Welcome.
I don't know about the steamy relationships. I wasn't much of a partier. What I really like to do, and I never liked drugs, I have to say. I tried everything. Well, I didn't try everything. I tried several drugs. I didn't try.
Rock and roll legend, for the first time talking about the secret battle that silenced her singing voice.
To the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Linda Ronstadt.
Picture this. A woman with one of the most beautiful voices in music history stands on stage, her voice soaring through packed stadiums. Millions of fans hang on every note, but there's always been one mystery that followed her everywhere she went. Why did Linda Ronstadt, the queen of rock and country, never get married? At 78 years old, she's finally ready to tell us the truth, and it's not what anyone expected. Linda Ronstadt wasn't just any singer. She was a force that could make you cry with a ballad 1 minute and get you dancing to rock music the next. She sold millions of albums, won countless awards, and filled stadiums that most artists could only dream of playing. But through it all, fans kept asking the same question over and over again. With all her success and all the amazing men in her life, why didn't she ever walk down the aisle? Some people whispered that maybe she was afraid of love. Others thought she was too picky or that her fame scared men away. There were even rumors that she might be hiding something about her personal life. But Linda has finally set the record straight, and her answer is so honest and refreshing that it might change how you think about love and marriage forever. To understand Linda's story, we need to go back to where it all began. On a hot summer day in July 1946, Linda Maria Ronstadt was born in Tucson, Arizona. She didn't grow up in Hollywood glamour or with famous parents. Instead, she lived on a dusty 10-acre ranch just outside the city, where the desert wind blew and music filled the air every single night. Linda was one of 4 children, and music was like the family's secret language. Her father, Gilbert, had both German and Mexican roots, and he ran a hardware store during the day. But at night, he would sing beautiful songs with his warm, deep voice. Her mother, Ruth, loved musical theater, especially those fancy British operettas with their dramatic stories and soaring melodies. Can you imagine what dinner time was like in that house? The whole family would gather in their living room with guitars in their hands. Sometimes they sang in Spanish, sometimes in English. These weren't fancy performances or anything like that. They were just a family sharing their love through music. But for young Linda, these moments were pure magic. She later said that those nights taught her more about music than any formal lesson ever could. By the time Linda was a teenager, she was already performing with her brothers and sister at small local shows around town. They called themselves different names depending on the night, like the Union City Ramblers or the Three Ronstadts. Their sound was like a beautiful mixing bowl of different flavors. A little bit of country, some folk music, a touch of bluegrass, and always that special Mexican soul running through every song. But Linda's heart was restless. She knew there was a bigger world of music waiting for her beyond the desert of Arizona. So at just 18 years old, she made a decision that would change everything. She packed her bags and headed to Los Angeles. It was 1964, and she didn't have some grand master plan. She just had her incredible voice, a brave heart, and a dream to make music that couldn't be put in just one neat little box. Little did anyone know that this young woman from the desert would soon shake up the entire music world. When Linda arrived in Los Angeles, she joined a folk rock band called the Stone Ponies. In 1967, they released a song that would put Linda's voice on the map forever. It was called Different Drum, and the moment people heard it, they stopped everything they were doing just to listen. It wasn't just that the song was catchy, though it definitely was. It was the way Linda sang it. She didn't just perform the words. She felt them deep in her soul, and everyone who heard her could feel that emotion too. The song climbed up the charts, and suddenly Linda was famous. But she wasn't the type of person to just ride the wave of success without taking control of her own destiny. As the Stone Ponies quietly faded away, Linda stepped boldly into a solo career. And this is where she really started to show the world just how special she was. While most singers stuck to one type of music, Linda wandered freely between different styles like she was exploring different countries. She sang country, rock, pop, folk, and even operetta and traditional Mexican music. She simply followed wherever the music called her to go. One of her early solo albums, called Hand Sewn Homegrown, came out in 1969. Music experts say it was the first alternative country record ever made by a woman. It didn't immediately shoot to the top of the charts, but it did something even more important. It helped create space for women in a music world that was mostly run by men wearing cowboy hats. Then came 1974, and everything exploded for Linda. Her album Heart Like a Wheel didn't just succeed, it absolutely dominated. It went straight to number 1 on the Billboard chart and gave us the unforgettable hit, You're No Good. But Linda was just getting started. Her next albums, Simple Dreams in 1977 and Living in the USA in 1978, also hit number 1. 3 number 1 albums in just 4 years. That wasn't luck or good timing. That was pure, raw talent. But Linda didn't just conquer the radio. She started filling up enormous arenas and stadiums, places where until then, only male rock bands dared to perform. She was one of the first women ever to sell out these massive venues. People called her the Queen of Rock and the First Lady of Rock, but those fancy titles never seemed to impress her much. She just kept showing up album after album, with her voice as sharp and beautiful as ever. Then in 1987, Linda surprised everyone by doing something deeply personal. She released an album called Canciones de mi Padre, which was filled with traditional Mexican songs that her father used to play at home. It was like a love letter to her heritage, sung entirely in Spanish. Many people in the music business doubted it would sell well, but Linda proved them wrong once again. The album became the best-selling non-English language record in American music history at that time. The awards and recognition just kept coming. Linda won 11 Grammy Awards, 3 American Music Awards, and 2 Academy of Country Music trophies. In 2011, she received the Latin Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, followed by a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2016. That same year, she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In 2014, President Barack Obama gave her the National Medal of Arts and Humanities, one of the highest honors an artist can receive in America. Her beautiful voice appeared on more than 120 different albums. Some were her own records, and others were collaborations where she quietly added her harmonies to help friends like Neil Young, James Taylor, and Dolly Parton. In 2019, she, Dolly, and Emmylou Harris were honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for their incredible work together as a trio. Later that same year, she received the Kennedy Center Honor, which is one of the most prestigious awards in all of American culture. But through all of this amazing success, one question kept following Linda everywhere she went. Why didn't she ever get married? She had romances. She had admirers. She had men who loved her deeply. But she never walked down the aisle. People were genuinely curious, not just gossipy, because they felt so close to her through her music. Linda's love life was actually quite full and interesting. In the early 1970s, she met a man named John Boylan, who was a respected record producer. What started as a professional relationship turned into something much deeper. John became not just Linda's producer, but also her manager, mentor, and eventually her romantic partner. Together, they were unstoppable in the music studio. They created albums that would define a generation, including Heart Like a Wheel, Prisoner in Disguise, and Simple Dreams. What most people didn't know back then was that Linda and John were also falling in love. Their romantic relationship wasn't splashed across magazine covers or talked about in interviews. It was private and real. They were two artists brought together not just by music, but by deep respect and understanding for each other. For a while, everything was beautiful. They even decided to move in together, thinking it would bring them even closer. But sometimes when creative partnerships become too close, the balance shifts. The intimacy that once fueled their creativity became harder to manage day to day. In a candid interview years later, Linda reflected on that time and admitted that moving in together was a turning point where their romance started to unravel. But here's the amazing part. They didn't let their breakup ruin what they had professionally. They continued working side by side, creating music with the same care and intensity. Their love had changed, but their respect for each other never wavered. After John, Linda's heart found a new companion in J.D. Souther. It was 1972, and J.D. was a gifted songwriter who would go on to help define the smooth California rock sound of that decade. He had already worked with Glenn Frey and Don Henley before they formed the Eagles. Linda was drawn to his words, his melodies, and most of all, his soul. They moved in together, and their home became filled with the sounds of guitars, laughter, and new music taking shape. They were partners in every sense of the word, writing together, singing together, and sharing their lives. Some of Linda's most beloved songs from that era came straight from J.D.'s pen, including Faithless Love, Simple Man, Simple Dream, and Prisoner in Disguise. These weren't just hit songs. They were pieces of their shared story, told in perfect harmony. But their romance wasn't built to last. By 1974, they had gone their separate ways romantically. J.D. later said he couldn't quite remember exactly what ended it. Maybe it wasn't one specific thing. Maybe it was just the nature of two artists burning bright, but in slightly different directions. Even so, they never truly said goodbye. They stayed friends, collaborators, and kindred spirits in music. Around the time Linda said goodbye to J.D., she stepped into a very different kind of relationship with actor and comedian Albert Brooks. It was the mid-1970s, and Albert was just starting to make waves as a comedian. He would later go on to star in movies like Defending Your Life and Broadcast News, but even then he had a quiet charm that caught Linda's attention. Unlike her previous relationships with musicians, Linda's connection with Albert was built on laughter and shared curiosity. He wasn't in the music world, but he appreciated her art. She admired his wit and intelligence. Their time together wasn't splashed across headlines or gossip magazines. It was low-key and private. They enjoyed each other's company, shared stories, and probably made each other laugh more than cry. They were together for a few years, and when things ended, they remained friends. But Linda's most well-known relationship was with someone who wasn't from the entertainment world at all. Jerry Brown, California's governor and a politician with big dreams, met Linda in 1971, and sparks flew almost immediately. Jerry was young, smart, and ambitious. Linda was riding high on her musical success. Together, they made quite the power couple. He the rising political star, she the beloved singer. The public was absolutely fascinated by them. Paparazzi followed them everywhere, and reporters constantly asked questions about their relationship. But despite all the attention, the two remained surprisingly down to earth. In her memoir, Simple Dreams, published in 2013, Linda looked back on their time together with sweet fondness. She said they had a lot of fun, but she also knew deep down that it wasn't going to last forever. Jerry needed someone who could stand by him both politically and personally. Linda's life was constantly on the road, in recording studios, always in motion. She once said that being the partner of a politician felt too confining for her free spirit. Meanwhile, she knew that her unpredictable lifestyle might have felt too chaotic for someone trying to build a political career. In the end, they made the mature decision to go their separate ways. They still liked each other. They still respected each other. But they were simply walking down different paths in life. Even years later, when asked about Jerry, Linda never said a bad word about him. Though she never married him or anyone else, Jerry Brown remains one of the great loves of her life. After her relationship with Jerry ended, Linda entered a lighter phase in her love life. In the early 1980s, she was briefly linked to comedian Bill Murray, the man we all know and love from Ghostbusters and Groundhog Day. Not much is known about their time together, just whispers and rumors, but by all accounts they shared some special moments together. Then in 1983, she met a young up-and-coming comedian named Jim Carrey. Back then, Jim was just starting to make a name for himself on the stand-up comedy circuit in Los Angeles. Linda had gone to see one of his shows, and something about his energy and humor caught her attention. They ended up dating for 8 months. He was funny, spontaneous, and full of life. Jim later spoke about Linda with genuine affection, calling her an incredible human being, and you could tell he really meant it. Linda's most serious long-term relationship was with George Lucas, the brilliant mind who created Star Wars. Linda and George met backstage at one of her concerts in 1983. He was quiet, thoughtful, and wildly creative. She was warm, witty, and fiercely independent. Together, they found a kind of calm that worked for both of them. Their relationship lasted over 5 years, and at one point they even got engaged. But if you're looking for juicy details about their relationship, you won't find many. Both Linda and George were intensely private people. They didn't pose for magazine covers or spill their hearts to entertainment reporters. They simply lived, loved, and respected each other quietly. But by 1988, they had peacefully parted ways. There was no scandal, no public heartbreak, no drama. Just two people who realized that their life paths were heading in different directions. George never spoke ill of Linda and continued to speak of her with admiration long after they broke up. Linda's last serious romance was with soul singer Aaron Neville. Their connection wasn't just romantic. It was pure musical magic. In 1989, they recorded a duet called Don't Know Much that swept across the charts and straight into people's hearts. Their voices blended together like they were made for each other from the very beginning. Fans absolutely adored them, and many called them the first couple of pop music. But even this powerful connection wasn't meant to last forever. By 1992, they had gone their separate ways, though their beautiful music together lives on as a testament to what they shared. So with all these incredible men in her life, artists, comedians, politicians, and legends, why didn't Linda ever settle down and get married? For years, people couldn't stop wondering and whispering about it. The rumors and theories grew wilder over time. Some people wondered if she was secretly gay. Others claimed she was too picky or too intimidating for most men. Some even suggested that her fame and success scared potential suitors away. But Linda, who has always been refreshingly honest and straightforward, eventually addressed all the chatter head-on. She didn't shy away from the questions or get defensive about them. Instead, she calmly laid all the gossip to rest in various interviews over the years. No, she said firmly she wasn't gay. No, she wasn't afraid of love. And no, she didn't believe there was anything wrong with having standards about what she wanted in a partner. The truth, as it turns out, was far simpler and far more relatable than all the wild theories. Linda admitted that while she had her fair share of beautiful romances, she never felt compelled to make any of them permanent through marriage. She had a very clear idea of what she wanted in a life partner. Loyalty mattered deeply to her. So did personality, kindness, and a good sense of humor. If a man could make her laugh, he definitely had a head start with her. But it wasn't just about chemistry and attraction. Linda needed someone who truly understood her world. Someone who not only loved music, but understood the soul and passion behind it. She found pieces of what she was looking for in the men she dated, but she never found all of it in one person. In a brutally honest interview back in 1974, Linda spoke candidly about why she wasn't rushing to get married like many of her peers. She blamed part of it on the chaotic, constantly changing nature of the entertainment world. Relationships just don't seem to last very long, she said. It's just not that simple. You're bombarded with new information all the time, and you inevitably change. That kind of honest, thoughtful approach to life became one of Linda's trademarks. Years later, in 2019, Linda gave what might be her most revealing explanation yet about why she never married. In a sit-down interview with the Washington Post, she laughed as she explained her philosophy. "I don't like to compromise," she said. And then she gave an example that really stuck with people. If I want a pink sofa and somebody doesn't want a pink sofa, I'm not going to go for that. I want the pink sofa. Of course, it wasn't really about the sofa. It was about independence and staying true to herself. Linda knew exactly what she wanted, not just in furniture, but in every aspect of her life. She wasn't going to sacrifice her authentic self or change who she was just to meet someone else's expectations. In her mind, being alone and happy was much better than being married and miserable. Even during her wildest years, when the music scene was full of partying and excess, Linda stood out for her different choices. She wasn't a stereotypical rock star who lived a crazy lifestyle. Sure, she had fun and tried new things, but when other musicians were partying hard after concerts, Linda often went back to her hotel room and curled up with a good book or some knitting needles. "Did I try things?" "You bet I did," she said with a grin years later. "But my addiction is to reading." She read classic novels like Anna Karenina while on tour. She knitted to calm her nerves before big shows. While her bandmates reached for a drink to unwind, Linda reached for a paperback book. She even spoke at the National Book Festival in Washington, D.C., where she lit up talking about how the piano players in her band were often bookworms too. Through it all, whether she was singing before sold-out crowds or quietly reading backstage, Linda lived completely on her own terms. And that same fierce independence shaped exactly how she approached love and relationships. She didn't need a wedding ring to feel complete as a person. She didn't see marriage as some milestone she had to hit to feel fulfilled in life. As she once put it perfectly, "I never felt like I had to do it. I never felt like it was missing from my life." But just when fans thought Linda's personal journey was unconventional enough, she surprised everyone again with a quiet but profound chapter that few people saw coming. Linda Ronstadt's path to motherhood was just as unique as everything else about her life. In December of 1990, Linda made one of the most important decisions of her entire life. She adopted her first child, a beautiful baby girl named Mary. She didn't do it for publicity or to keep up with what other celebrities were doing. She did it simply because she felt it was time to become a mother. "I just wanted to be a mom," she once said. "I knew I could give love, and I had enough of it to share." Mary came into Linda's world at a time when most people expected her to slow down and maybe start thinking about retirement. But instead of retiring, Linda just added a new role to her already incredibly full-life mother. And she took this new responsibility very seriously. For years later, in 1994, she did it again. This time she welcomed a baby boy named Carlos into her home and her heart. She was still touring the world, singing to packed crowds, flying from city to city, and yet she made room for more love, more laughter, and more family in her life. Some people question her choice to adopt children on her own, without a husband or traditional family structure. But Linda didn't feel like she needed to explain herself or justify her decisions to anyone. She knew what she wanted, and she knew she could be an amazing mother. "You don't need to be married to be a good parent," she once said, and she proved that truth every single day. Raising 2 children while still performing and touring wasn't easy by any stretch of the imagination. There were diaper changes in hotel rooms, bedtime stories read on the tour bus, and PDA meetings squeezed in between rehearsals and recording sessions. But Linda never complained about the challenges. She saw it all as a blessing. "They grounded me," she told friends. "They gave me something real and meaningful to come home to." Her home in San Francisco became her true sanctuary. No Hollywood chaos, no constant spotlight, just the warmth of family and the beautiful sound of children's laughter echoing through the hallways. When her children asked about her music career, she would tell them wonderful stories about the songs she sang, the tours she went on, and all the interesting people she met along the way. But she never made her career more important than her children. Whether she was singing to a packed stadium or helping Carlos with his science homework, she gave her whole heart to whatever she was doing. But just when life seemed to be settling into a comfortable new rhythm, Linda faced something that no parent ever wants to think about. As the 2000s rolled in, Linda began noticing something strange and frightening. Singing, something that had once come as naturally to her as breathing, started to feel incredibly difficult. She couldn't hit those soaring high notes the way she used to. By 2009, it became almost impossible for her to perform live. 2 years later, in 2011, Linda officially stepped away from the stage. At first, she didn't say much about why she was retiring. But in 2013, she opened up and shared the real reason with the world. She had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. That revelation hit her millions of fans like a punch to the gut. A few years later, doctors gave her a new, more accurate diagnosis. It wasn't Parkinson's disease after all. It was something even rarer and more challenging progressive supranuclear palsy, a brain disorder that slowly takes away muscle control and coordination. In 2019, her doctors told her she needed to slow down significantly. No more traveling around the world, no more busy schedules packed with activities. Just rest and taking care of herself. Then, in a quiet and heartbreakingly honest interview in 2020, Linda explained exactly how her voice had begun to betray her. "It was like my throat would cramp up," she said. "I couldn't sing the way I used to, and I knew something was terribly wrong." But when she was asked if she had any regrets about her life or career, Linda didn't hesitate for even a second. "No regrets," she said with calm certainty. "I had a long career, much longer than I ever expected when I first started." That response is so perfectly Linda. Always honest, never dramatic, never feeling sorry for herself. Even though the disease has changed her life in many difficult ways, she refuses to let it steal her spirit or her joy. She now walks with the help of walking sticks and can't garden or travel the way she used to love doing. But she hasn't let any of that break her down. Instead, Linda turned to something that didn't require a stage or a perfect voice: writing. Through her writing, she has been able to revisit her memories, think about all the people she has loved, and reflect on all the music that shaped her incredible life. Though she can no longer sing out loud, Linda still carries music with her everywhere she goes. "I can't sing at all anymore," she said, "but I still love music and can still play it perfectly in my head." That one sentence says absolutely everything about who Linda Ronstadt is as a person. Even when life took away her voice, it couldn't take away her deep, abiding love for music and song. In 2014, Linda was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on the very first ballot. No surprise there at all. Her voice, her incredible strength, her grace under pressure. She had earned that honor 100 times over throughout her amazing career. Now, in her late 70s, Linda embraces a quiet life she has built for herself. She spends her days with Mary and Carlos, the two people who matter most to her in the whole world. From the roar of applause in packed stadiums to the gentle stillness of her peaceful home, Linda Ronstadt's journey has been one of remarkable courage, unwavering grace, and boundless love. Her story teaches us something beautiful and important. When society expects you to follow a certain path, get married, have a traditional family, do what everyone else is doing, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is write your own story instead. Linda never let other people's expectations define her happiness. She chose love on her own terms, built a family in her own way, and lived every single day as her most authentic self. At 78, Linda Ronstadt has finally admitted what we all suspected, that she never needed a husband or a traditional marriage to live a full, rich, meaningful life. She found love in her music, in her children, in her friendships, and most importantly, in herself. Her pink sofa philosophy wasn't really about furniture at all. It was about having the courage to know what you want and never settling for less than what makes you truly happy. What do you think about Linda's approach to love and life? Do you admire her independence, or do you think she missed out on something special by never getting married? Her story definitely makes us think about what it really means to live life on your own terms. Drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts about this incredible woman's journey. If this story inspired you or taught you something new about one of music's greatest legends, please hit that like button and share this video with your friends and family. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest videos about the amazing stories behind your favorite artists. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.